Thank you. I just want to take up a couple of things said by the other speakers and then a couple of things from the audience. In relation to what Adnan said about secularism largely being imposed on the Muslim world by the West, I mean, that's not the whole story. And in fact, one of the more interesting roles played by America and Britain in the Islamic world in the 20th century was to promote religion as a way of defeating secularist movements. So if you look at the role of the British Empire in the founding and the funding of the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt, because it hoped that the Muslim Brotherhood would work against secularist elements who wanted to liberate Egypt from British rule. If you look at the role played by Israel in the funding and the founding of Hamas, you can see again and again that actually Western elements, including America, have played a key role in promoting Islamist forces in the Muslim world in order to undermine and defeat secularist left-wing communistic movements, which has unleashed great civil conflict in some of those parts of the world. And also, it's not the full story to say, as I think both speakers have suggested, that America is on some anti-Muslim crusade in its imperialist adventures over the past 20 or 25 years. That's not true. If you look back to the 90s, when Clinton was in power, he bombed the Bosnian Serbs in 1995, and he bombed Yugoslavia in 1999 in the name of defending Muslims. And I can tell you, because I was a student then, and I protested against those wars, as I later protested against the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. And Muslim students said to me, why are you protesting? Why are you protesting against these wars to defend Muslims from so-called Holocaust? And in fact, some Muslim students from the university I went to Bosnia to fight with the Bosnian Muslim army, which was being funded armed by Iran with America's blessing. So it's a lot more complicated than people let on. Muslims and America have fought side by side in recent times to great destructive effect in Yugoslavia and other places. In relation to Jews faring better under Islam than under Christianity, that's true, but I think just in defence of the secularists for a moment, it's important to recognise that the two greatest moments for Jews, historically speaking, were in the immediate aftermath of the French Revolution and in the immediate aftermath of the Russian Revolution. Two secular projects after which Jews were liberated from bondage, were allowed to join governments. Abraham Leon, the great author of The Jewish Question, who was later killed in Auschwitz, described the way in which Napoleonic forces effectively liberated Jews from their ghettos across Europe by sweeping aside old feudal regimes and replacing them with something more secular. So the secularists don't have a terrible record on things such as Jewish liberation. Just then coming on to a couple of things Michael said. You know, he says that there's a difference between religious dogma and non-religious dogma, which is that people who adhere to non-religious dogma will change their mind if different things come up. But, you know, I'm always struck by the similarity between those two things, and the best example, I think, in the modern era is environmentalism. The similarity between environmentalism and old-style religious dogma is extremely interesting, I think. Both of them have an idea that the world is going to come to an end, largely as a result of human sin or human bad behaviour. Both have the idea of penance, the idea that you must pay your penance for using too much carbon by offsetting your carbon and planting a tree, comes directly from Catholicism, the idea that you have to say 10 Hail Marys to make up for some sin you did. The way in which the environmentalist governments, which are all governments these days, refer to people who deny climate change as deniers. That's a phrase that comes directly from the Inquisition period, when people who denied the truth of the Bible were burned at the stake. They were deniers of the truth. And you can see that terminology resurrected. So I think there are a lot of similarities between the kind of dogmas pushed by so-called secular states today and the kind of dogmas that existed in the past. And then finally, I think one interesting thing that people seem to share in common, both the religious side in this debate and the secular side, is the idea that we need an external force in order to instruct us about how to be moral, which I really, really disagree with. You know, so we've had lots of people in the audience saying you need religion in order to give us a moral universe in which to know what's right and what's wrong and what we should do and what we shouldn't do. And then we've had some more secular people saying we need the state to be secular precisely so that it can wipe out homophobia or instruct people how to think or make people think in a correct fashion, is effectively what people are saying. And the similarity really comes to a head around the pornography debate. So we've had both religious people and the secularist gentleman up there, saying that pornography is a great problem and we need an intervention to sort it out. I disagree with all of that. And it really goes against proper Enlightenment thinking, not the degraded Enlightenment thinking we have today. If you look at someone like John Stuart Mill, he said that it's only through having choice that you can become a moral, responsible human being. It's only through exercising choice and saying, I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that, that you then become a morally responsible social being. If you don't do something because you've been told not to do it, you haven't made a choice. You're not morally responsible. And in fact, Mill said you're nothing better than an ape because you're just aping other people who have told you what to do. So I'm against religion telling us what to do. I'm also against the state telling us what to believe or how to think. And I think we should trust people to make the right choices in their lives. And both the secularists and the religious people in this debate need to trust people more and not treat them as these kind of apes who have to do what